So welcome everyone. Miffi's going to be walking us through how to be your own therapist. Um, I think, yeah, which is the it was it Lama Yeshe or was it Lama Zopa that wrote that book? How to be your
Lama
therapist.
Yeshe. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so let's get started. I mean, it's a wonderful topic. Be your own therapist. Actually, Lama Yeshe many times said that's our task, and we can be our own therapist, but we have to be strong. So when we're when we're really depleted, when we're in extremis, may not be the time to do the most challenging work. That's probably the time to get some support, because to really work on our mind and change our mind and become liberated from all of the ups and downs, achieve that beautiful equilibrium that we're seeking. To be able to do that, we've got to be strong. So I took heart with that because I often push myself and probably push myself a bit too hard and a bit with a bit of a lack of compassion. So to just know, oh, sometimes you've got to take it easy and sometimes you've got to push, and kind of figuring out rule of thumb, which approach to apply to your life, and the approach that we apply to our life, whether to push or whether to be a little bit slower. It's not with a worldly criteria. It's not with self-help criteria. It's not with an ordinary pop culture criteria. It's not even with the criteria of your family or friends. It's with Dharma criteria. So maybe that's what we can go into today, in amongst the topic of how to stay calm in the chaos. I don't know if I'm actually achieving that at the moment, but I can relate. So let's take a moment to really set our motivation. The chaos becomes quite apparent around Christmas time and the end of the year. We're getting to the end of the year and we're back of our mind, we're going, what did I do this year? Was it just a year of distraction? Did I waste another one? I'm propelling myself, speeding towards death, and what have I accomplished? All of these thoughts come crashing in amongst the festivities, don't they? So those thoughts are kind of there. It's actually handy that we've got this silly season to bring them to the fore. They're important. They're important to address. So we can take the opportunity to have the chaos as our friend that reminds us, hey, what are we doing with our life? So we start with that kind of questioning, bit of anxiety there, and then we can use that, so it's kind of heartfelt, to set our motivation. And our motivation's got to be big-hearted for ourselves and big-hearted for others. And just like we don't want to suffer, nobody does. Doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter whether we get on with them or not, nobody wants to suffer. Everybody experiences being miserable, and you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy, would you? So let's set our motivation. May we be able to relieve the misery of the world, of ourselves and the world, because we can genuinely wish for that. But then to set our motivation a bit more uplifting, we've got to have courage. And so that motivation is, may we be the ones to help. And not just ordinary help, not just obvious help, because there are many people in the world helping others, first responders, teachers, parents, everything. But most people don't get the help that they really need, which is to be able to solve our own problems, to be our own therapist, and to achieve liberation from the ups and downs of life or samsaric existence. So that's what we've got to have courage for. And then even extend it further, not just ourselves, but everybody, and without leaving anyone out. So then a simple meeting over Zoom can become part of a cause for your own liberation and enlightenment for the sake of every single living being. So have the courage to extend your mind into that kind of motivation. It's worth it. Even just thinking about it like that is worth it. It puts everything else in our life into perspective. And it also means that all the things that we care deeply about, that we wish to be able to help, now suddenly we have the courage and the fortitude to be able to do something instead of becoming overwhelmed. So with this motivation, it's kind of like as Venerable Robina often says, the two wings of the bird, wisdom and compassion, or curiosity and kindness. We can dive into our class, our conversation today. And yeah, so how's everyone going with the chaos of the end of year? Chaos and questions.
I need the time to just practice.
The time to practice. Well, yeah, I suppose. What do you mean by practice though, Shayla?
Well, just sit back and reflect. Just, gosh,
Yeah,
any
okay.
little tiny bit. I'm finding a little bit of time here and there to read, but I'm not finding time to
Yeah, so
meditate
I would
or contemplate.
I'd reframe that, because people often say that I need time to practice, thinking that that's the time on the cushion, or that's the time meditating, or that's the time doing our prayers. That's not practice, that's prep. I need time to prep. I need time for preparation. Practicing, that's when you go out into the world and you have your big exam. Oh my gosh, how am I relating to these strangers? Okay, so that's practice. We've all got time to practice. We do it all the time, but we're just terrible at it mostly. But what we don't have time is for prep. And so what happens is we go out into the world and chaos happens, things change, things stuff up, and we're not prepared. And we try and deal with it on the spot. So all we've got to deal with it is what we've prepared in the past. But of course, when we get a window of opportunity for prep, most of the time we're exhausted, so we have to rest for starters. And then if we manage to rest, then maybe we've got a little bit more time to do some prep, to read a Dharma book, or to meditate on the four immeasurables or something like that. But it's quite rare that we set aside that time. Many times we have to set it aside because we've got commitments to say prayers, but they're kind of more like a chore, like we have to do it, and I'm going to go to hell if I don't say my prayers or whatever. So, but if we think of it as prep, this is my prep so that I'm ready. I've got something up my sleeve when I go out into the world and everything goes crazy. I've got some resources to draw on. Because yeah, I just keep on. I've over the years, I've many times heard people say, "Oh, I wish I had more time for Dharma," and it's like, life is Dharma, baby. It's all there. What we need is time for the prep to be able to use every single event that happens to us. It's like all those prayers that say, whatever happens to me, good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, may we be able to bring it onto the path, may make it useful. That's something to take to heart.
Boy, is that ever. And sorry, my dog's barking again.
So does that resonate with anybody? How are you going trying to find time for prep? What time for anything?
For those of you guys that are new to this class, please raise your hand or unmute and talk. It's
Don't be shy, people. I'm always going to interrupt you anyway. That's the beauty of Zoom. I get to dominate. But yeah, you can raise your actual hand or your virtual hand, or wave at me, whatever you'd like to do. Is that Carol? Oh, no, Nim and Efisha. Nim.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
Miffi.
Hi.
we were talking about the time of death. What's the best way to get ready for that last moment? I.e., when you could be lying down, you could be in a hospital bed. What's
Yeah.
the best way to get?
Yeah, well, that is an excellent question because that's one of those things where we very rarely prep for. So I commend you of asking the question before you're actually on your deathbed, because generally that's when the question comes up. I can't tell you how many emails I get of people saying, I have someone in hospital on their deathbed. They want to see a priest, they want to see a Buddhist person, they want to know what to do. And it's like, that is the least kind of time that you want to learn about stuff is when you're in the process of dying and you've got no more resources. But what happens, of course, is because death and dying is kind of a scary topic and it's unknown and it's uncomfortable, we put it off. We don't put the time aside for prep until, I hate to say it, till it's too late. And so then really, for most people, all you can do, and the main thing that we can do for our friends, our family, our pets, is to have courage ourselves. If we're helping the person who's there, have courage ourselves and call on all the Buddhas to help us, and think we're their link to a fortunate next life. Whether we feel ready or not, we've just got to ask the Buddhas to help us. We become like a conduit. And the most important thing, no matter what, when someone's dying, is that their mind is calm. That's the most important thing. So whatever it takes for their mind to be calm. So it might mean taking the wailing relatives out of the room and putting them in the lounge somewhere to wail by themselves. And then when they're collected themselves and want to come and say a nice thing to the person to come back in, it might mean just saying to the person, it's going to be okay. Doesn't matter if it's going to be okay or not, you just say it. Because honestly, just connecting people with that thought, it's going to be okay, it reconnects them with all their calm and their virtue and their refuge and all of that. So wholeheartedly, it's going to be okay. And then whatever their refuge is, you encourage them to take refuge. So if they're a Buddhist, of course, to take refuge in the Buddha, to invite all the medicine Buddhas into the room so it's crowded. There's no room to move because all the medicine Buddhas are there. If they're Christian, to invite Jesus or Mary or whatever who they pray to, God, to completely rely on their refuge, who loves them and will help them. So whatever the refuge is most familiar for that person, to encourage them. And it might also include things like having hymns playing in the background or mantras playing in the background, because music really helps our emotions. It kind of sets us in a direction. But it can't just be nice. I mean, nice music is okay, but better if it's meaningful music that has karmic imprints as well, like mantras or hymns. And then once the person stopped breathing, then you can revert to your own refuge. So even if they're Christian, Muslim, whatever, Hindu, if you're a Buddhist, then you use your Buddhist refuge, because by that stage, distinctions between this and that, this religion, that religion, they've dissolved. So it's not going to upset them. And you're going to be able to be the most effective conduit if you have your own refuge. If it's a bit before that, I mean, when my mother Inta, who started this centre, Lungri Tumpa Centre, when she was dying, she got a diagnosis, cancer, how many months to live. And she wrote to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and Rinpoche wrote this amazing letter back saying how terrible and how wonderful to have this diagnosis. I mean, terrible, of course, because none of us wants to die. Wonderful, because now the perspective of your life has changed, and now you've got a chance to do all the things that you had to do. Say goodbye to people, say thank you to people, tie up the loose ends, give all your stuff away, rejoice, all of that. like a clean slate. It was fantastic. So she had about 3 months, from that letter onwards. And her students were able to say goodbye. She was able to give all of her Dharma objects to people and really rejoice about it. So, if someone has a diagnosis, then you've got to be the one that is brave to talk about what matters, rather than say, we've got to fight this, or it's all right, you're not going to die, all of those stupid things that people say to try and make people feel better. No, that's the time to go, what's been playing on your conscience? What do you need to do? What can I help with? I often think of it, it's like when I go overseas, and if it's to a country where it's not English speaking, I try and learn the language on the plane on the way over. It's not very prepared, right? We want to be a little bit more prepared than that. So I hope that kind of helps a bit, Nim and Afisha. Is there what else? What other questions do you have about that?
We were just thinking about our own death.
Yeah,
so is it going to be okay to be trying to do these practices lying down?
Yeah, sure.
You
might have to. I mean, the best thing is to be able to even do them when you're in a coma. One thing that you've got to do is talk to the rest of your family and let them know what you want to happen, because that can be a real glitch in the system, that you've got everything sorted, you've been doing the death meditations, you're aware of impermanence, you kind of almost ready, and then relatives come in and they start wailing, or they go, who's going to get all of the staff, or they start the bickering, and that's the last thing that you want when you're in the dying process. So you really have to talk to your family beforehand and say, this is how I want it to be. This is where I want all my stuff to go. This is what I want to happen when I'm actually in the dying process. These are the circumstances that I want the machines turned off. I want to die at home. These are the prayers I want said while I'm dying. These are the Buddhist people to call me, or whoever your gurus, your teachers. These are the ones to call. This is the person to be the boss of the situation that I trust. Have that conversation beforehand, and then have it all in a little, one little tiny piece of paper, and stick it on the fridge. So it's there and they know. It's really important, because again, like just happened to my family. So on my father's side, he was at death's door, and they hadn't had the conversation. And so his wife got the call from the hospital saying, what do you want to happen? And she's like, oh, well, can I call you back in a couple of days? I've got to talk to the various of the grown-up children and ask them. And the doctor's like, you've got 2 hours. And they hadn't had the conversation. So then it was like panic stations, what to do. It was really brutal. So they did have the conversation, but it could have been much more skillfully done. As it was, he didn't die. So then they got to have the conversation a little bit more in depth. And now actually there's a little bit of equilibrium, because there's a plan and there's some confidence there. In terms of what to do when you are dying, in practice, it can be a bit tricky, because when you think about it, dying is a process of everything shutting down and not working. And so what we can actually do with our body and mind becomes limited. So it's got to be something that's really deep in your experience, that's instinctual. It's something that you could do in your sleep. And so really the practices of bodhicitta, of loving kindness, of devoting yourself to others, and this intense, deep intention to become a Buddha, that has to get really deep down into our psyche, so that it comes up even when we're in a coma. That's where our mind goes. Then you can have some kind of confidence of your mind, that even though on the surface you might be distressed, you might be in pain, or you might have a brain tumor, and so it's affecting your behavior, but that's just kind of fickle. That's just on the top. Underneath is your really deep, heartfelt practice, supported by wisdom and that momentum, the intention to become a Buddha for the benefit of everybody. And that'll carry you through. The other thing personally that I think is meritorious activities like going on pilgrimage, making offerings to the holy relics. That kind of connection with the physical manifestation of the Buddhas is incredibly powerful. And so a few years ago, down in Bendigo, with the holy relics there that they're putting into the Great Stupa, and before they were in the Great Stupa was still being built. It didn't have a roof on it yet. The holy relics were in this exhibition centre, and it was a little bit bedraggled. And so one of the nuns there during the retreat said, we're going to revamp the whole thing and make it beautiful and like a Pure Land. And so I'm there, I'm going to help as well. So we spent the entire retreat painting, making altar cloths, rearranging the furniture, really making this extraordinary experience and making the entire environment beautiful for the holy relics to be there and be displayed. And it took however many weeks that the retreat was. And then on the final day, the relics came down. Everyone was carrying one each. So it was like this procession down the hill to the new place where they were all going to be, with the Maitreya statue in the middle. And I just had like this parallel vision. It's like in the sutras where they have all of the 500 the 500 fish, or the birds that in that sutra something happens, and then the next life they're all born as like 500 arhats or 500 devotees. And so we're coming down the hill like this, and I just thought, this is one of these moments that goes across space and time, that it's like it's there and it's incredibly profound. And we put the relics in, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche was there, and I just had this feeling from then, like I'm going to be looked after. I'm still a bit frightened to death, but that real dread, that fear, it comes up because I'm stuffing my life around, but really underneath I feel I'm going to be looked after. That those holy relics, those beings, they're going to look after me. They're always going to look after me, just from the effort of me making that connection. And that's beyond belief. It's beyond, it's that kind of connection, because it's from their side, from the Buddhas. From my side, I can be weak and frightened and whatever, doesn't matter. I'm looked after. So I think something like that, pilgrimage, the power of the actual physical relics like that, it does something very, very deep. Something to go on. And of course, there's Venerable Rabina's book of How to Meet Death and Die Happy and blah, 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 So there's the hard copy, which looks like a Bible and is really expensive and it's got gold all over it. And then there's the PDF that's free. So have that. Have that on hand, because that is the resource, and you'll find your level there. You'll find what to do when you've got no time, and you'll find what to do when you have a bit of leisure.
What's the name of the book?
Oh, Shayla, can you put it into the chat? It's got one of those really delightful long names that says exactly what it means. It's like How to Die Happy, Die Without Fear, and Go Happily into the Next Life, I think is what it is. It is what it says. Shayla will put it into the chat for you.
Thanks, Miffi.
Thank you. Really good question. And these are the questions that come up, especially at the end of the year, don't they? So I've got to admit, I wake up pretty much every day, every second day maybe, just filled with dread. Like, I'm going to die, and what have I done with my life? It's just this thing. It's less, I don't even know. It just might be like it's a physiological thing. I get a adrenals surge and my fingers hurt, and my heart sinks to the bottom of my stomach. But I've kind of learned I don't try and get rid of that feeling of dread. That's kind of like that's just my really basic self-centered, self-grasping, self-cherishing fear that arises naturally. But what it does is it leads me to something more fundamentally true, which is, death and impermanence is real. And I've got to take that into account. And if I forget, of course, I should be filled with dread. It's natural. So instead of trying to make the dread go away, I just take stock of my life, and I try and set a good motivation and make sure that I do at least one good thing that day, which is pretty poor, really. Couple of years there, it was overwhelming dread. It's not so overwhelming now, but I think why that happens is we get sidetracked. We think that feeling is the problem. No, that feeling is like a warning light. And don't just turn off the warning light. It's like the smoke alarm's going off and you just turn off the smoke alarm while the house is burning down. We get it wrong. So whenever you have anxiety or fear, especially about change and especially about death and our impending doom, don't turn the fire alarm off. It's there for a purpose. So what do we really have to pay attention to? And pretty much, of course, first thing that comes to mind, I'm just wasting my life on distraction. I mean, pretty much the percentage of each day that's just wasted, it's horrific, isn't it? So that's why the smoke alarm's going off. That's why the dread is arising. So use it to change how you live each day. And then slowly that feeling of dread and anxiety will diminish because you've actually addressed the root issue.
All right. Miffi, I put 2 books in the chat. One's the How to Face Death Without Fear, and then the How to Help Your Loved Ones Enjoy Death and Go Happily to Their Next Rebirth.
To the next life. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. They're the ones. Everybody should have a copy. You should have it on your phone so that when you're a bit bored or waiting in a queue, you just open it up somewhere and read a couple of paragraphs. Like, it's really good to just dip in while you've got the leisure, because you don't want to be doing it in the hospital. Now, a couple of other people had their hands up too. Sorry, who was it? Are you still there? Geraldine, did you have your hand up about something?
I misunderstood the question, Miffi. I thought the question was who is new, and I'm not really new, but I didn't quite hear it. So
right, okay. Well, welcome anyway. Does any of this resonate with you?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah. I think I find that practicing, yes, my prep has been more attending classes and courses and reading and stuff, though I do my meditation regularly sometimes, and certainly at the moment, and I intend to continue with that. But I find that actually practicing is so soothing. One is aware of the skills that are emerging because of the constant input of the Dharma, and when difficult things have been happening lately, but I've been able to just put the agitation to one side and be calm and pleasant, and still truthful and real and authentic.
Yeah, I like how you say that, put it to one side, because it's there. We can't kind of gaslight ourselves about it, and we don't have to make it go away, because it's information. It's really important information, but it's not all the information. So acknowledge it and just put it to the side, and then that stops us panicking, lets the other information come in, all the stuff about being calm and equanimous. But at the same time, we need to calibrate how we are in the world. And there are times where our stress will go up, of course, and that's just an indicator. It's just like an indicator light that we can read. So, yeah, good.
I think I've been thinking about reification and making these stories real, and I don't feel particularly courageous. I feel just like I poke my nose in a little bit and test the temperature, test the waters if you do that with your nose. But and then I can continue to be far more positive and confident, just having cleared away all the agitation and being aware that I could be making it up.
Yes, that's right. And just having that, that's like a little bit of healthy doubt. I could be making it up.
Yeah.
So one thing I realized years ago that's been really helpful just for me personally, it may not be for everybody else, but I've found that whenever I'm miserable, it's because I'm missing a piece in the puzzle. So it's a bit like that, you know. It's not that I don't kind of go to I'm making it up. I go to I haven't got the whole picture. And because I haven't got the whole picture, it's not sitting well. I'm feeling miserable. Because I do have this, the way I process these is just to try and figure them out. I have to figure them out. I don't care if I feel happy or unhappy about it. I just want to know what's going on. And so while I'm still miserable, it's just that I don't know everything that's going on. And once you get all the pieces of the puzzle, which is a different perspective from someone else's point of view, or yes, to recognize maybe the whole reification syndrome. Once that piece of the puzzle comes in, there's the relief. Your mind is calm again. So that's when I know, yep, I've hit it. I've got the missing piece, because everything's okay. So the rest of the time, when I'm miserable or agitated, I don't stress about it. I just think, okay, I'm still searching for that missing piece. You don't have to stop there and go, well, that's just the way it is. Everything's horrible, which is where a lot of us may end up doing, is just kind of gritting our teeth and trying to bear it. That's not the Buddhist way. The Buddhist way is to work through it. Yeah. So just that first step, there it is, put it aside. It's still there, but just put it to the side instead of having it dominate you. That's a great skill. Yeah. Okay. Who else had something? Someone else had their hand up before. No. Who else was here?
We did have a Zoom bomber that I had to evict.
Oh yeah, I know. I think it's you Americans getting the Zoom bombers, because we don't have them over here yet. And I'm like, wow, interesting. There you go. There's the whole thing of you've got the connection, you don't have the karma to see it. Like me. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Can I ask you a question, please?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's about this, right? What am I doing with my life? I mean, it's the end, or it's the end of the year, I'm going to die. It is so materialistic. What is this legacy I'm leaving behind? What are people going to talk about me? What is the inheritance that I'm leaving for the rest to come behind me? In fact, it's so interesting you brought it up, because I was discussing this with my sister yesterday and saying, we are all striving to gather things to leave behind. What are people going to think about me? I'm not even thinking about my father or my grandfather. That's just about 100 years ago. So where am I headed?
Yeah.
Where am I, how long am I going to do this to be in somebody's mind? I don't know. I'm like, do I have to really do things, gather things, leave a legacy? I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the legacy thing is a big one, and it really matters. If you're a materialist, that's all you have is a legacy. That's why the rich and famous try and have buildings named after them, or get, make themselves more famous, or it's all about, the only way that you can exist is if you still exist in people's memory, or if they still revere you or think you're important. So if you're a materialist, I mean, you might not even know that you're a materialist. Many of us are by default materialists, because that's our instinct, and we have to grow out of it by thinking about it. So of course our instinct reverts back to we don't want to be annihilated. We want to live on. That's that self-grasping that comes along. I mean, but it's very inconsistent, because of course, if you are really a materialist, and if you actually were a proper materialist, it wouldn't matter, because you die, it's finished. No problem. So materialists, actually, they have materialist leanings, but they're not really being materialist, because they think once they're dead, it's going to matter what people think about them. It doesn't make any sense. So that's just on one side. But the other side is, yeah, of course, we have this this self-grasping of me and I, and we can't bear the thought that it might disappear, and we want to have some kind of legacy. So that can go two ways. I mean, that can be motivated by the self-grasping and self-cherishing, in which personally I think it's pretty doomed, because you look at all the boring old statues of famous people and you just go, oh, whatever, don't even know who they are. They got poop all over them from the birds. Even really important people, it's hard to remember their names. Even like Inta, who started this center, hardly anyone remembers her. We had her after she'd been dead for 1 year. We had a memorial and 4 people came, and 2 of them hadn't met her. So like, that was really interesting to me, how people are like, we just don't pay any attention to anyone unless there's something to do with me. So the whole idea of being remembered, it's a losing game anyway. But this idea of a legacy, actually, you can really use that, because from a Buddhist point of view, there is kind of like this saying that it's in one of the prayers, that maybe it's in Guru Puja, that we got this precious human life, but we came back empty-handed. So we didn't take the essence of this life. That's what we have to do. And the Australian Geshe Tashi Sering, he said, you can tell if you have the essence of this life or not, if you've taken the essence of this life, as to whether you're going to wake up in the lower realms next life. If you wake up in the lower realms, you've wasted this life. If you're unsure where you're going to wake up next life, whoa, danger signs. We've only taken the essence of this life if we wake up next in a perfect human rebirth and nothing less, or in the Pure Lands to continue our practice unobstructed. So we can take this thought of a legacy. What am I doing with my life? What's all this striving for? We've got to marry it with a Dharma vision of what is a perfect human rebirth for. Because this one of a legacy is about what's a human life for. And pretty much most of the time, that's just a materialistic, it's very short. It's a short-term view. So to take the essence of this life, what we can take a little bit of solace with is that it doesn't mean that we have to have a big building named after ourselves. It doesn't mean we even need to have a meaningful job. We could have a really menial kind of job, make no impact in the world at all, outside of, by any kind of those measurements. But if in our mind we are turning our work to Dharma, that's really taking the essence of this life. So for instance, even if you have no job, even if you're unemployed or retired or lonely, every time you go out to the shop and you say a determination or a prayer, may everyone who I encounter never suffer, be completely free of their suffering, have everything that they need, attain the peerless happiness of enlightenment, and by me just merely seeing them and them just merely seeing me, may that connection happen, and from that connection, may I be the one to lead them out of samsara. So if you do that, even if it's just meeting an animal, meeting a mouse or a cat or a dog, and you make that connection, you're making your life dharma. And so we kind of think, like Geraldine was saying about reification, we think the meaning is out there. It's not. The meaning is what we bring with our mind. And I get caught out with this all the time. So I'll be on the bus and something will happen, and I've stopped frowning at people. I might smile at them now, but they get off the bus and I go, oh, I should have said that compliment. I should have made that connection, you know, but I don't. Social inertia, lack of confidence, which is kind of like laziness, just being distracted about other things, didn't prime myself properly before leaving home, and I missed the opportunity. So then I use that feeling of regret of like, oh no, especially with young people, because now that I'm an old lady, but I have pink hair, but the young people kind of connect to me a little bit. So there's this really perfect opportunity to say something, even to indicate that the older generation cares about you. And so many times they'll get off the bus and I'll think, oh, I should have said blah, blah, blah to make that connection. And so I get really regretful about that. And I've learnt that I've got to take that regret a next step further and say to myself, next time, the little thought that comes up in my mind, say it. Instead of just think it, say it, make the connection. And so I've even had to get even more specific and go, just say one sentence more, Miffi. And that then primes me that then next time on the bus and something happens and some young person gets on and they're all dolled up and they've put a lot of effort into all their piercings and makeup, I can go, wow, don't you look fabulous? And they're like, and they storm off. But like, I know inside they're like, yeah. So the connection's made, then I can spend the rest of the bus time dedicating, connecting with them, imagining all the taras around them, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So legacy, it's like it's moment by moment. It's not about the, you know, the stuff that you leave the house. Actually, all of that stuff that you leave, people are just going to fight over it, you know, unless you're really, really skilled. So legacy is like every day, got to make a legacy. How does that sit, like me?
Excellent. Thank you so much, because you know, we are so caught up in this world of children and money and possessions and property and homes, and so because
and it's important. I mean, all of that stuff is important and we can do so much with it. But often when we're striving for it, we forget what it's for. And even children. So I've noticed, you know, in pujas, when someone's pregnant and they're making all these prayers for, oh, may they be a healthy child, and may they have a good childbirth, and, you know, all of this stuff. And none of it's a Dharma prayer. To this day, I've yet to hear someone say, when this baby is born, may they be born into a perfect human rebirth. May they effortlessly connect with the Dharma. May they just run to the Sangha, you know. Not one, not even Sangha make those dedications when it's their grandchildren. So we kind of have this thing, we want the best for people, but our vision, it's so minuscule. So even with children, it's like when you bring children into the world, it's not may they just have a good life, may they be happy, may they achieve their wishes. It's like may they take the essence of this human life, and no matter what happens, may they never harm and always have this inner compass, no right from wrong. May they care about others. May they meet the Dharma. May they have a really positive, warm, strong connection with the Dharma. That's the kind of prayers we should be making for our children. Otherwise, what do? You get a whole lot of Dharma parents with kids that have no interest in the Dharma. And part of it is, of course, they bring their own stuff whether they have an interest or not. But the other part of it is that the parents haven't been connecting them with the Dharma. So I was really fortunate because my mother did connect me with the Dharma. So I was doing Tara meditations from the age of 6 or 7. And I was begging to go to Lama Yeshe's teachings, even though I couldn't figure out how to take notes or anything, and begging to go to the initiation. Like, I was totally into it, but it was also because my mother treated me as like an honorary grown-up in a way that, that's just like a grown-up, then also a child makes a connection with the Dharma. The Dharma helps them in life, helps them be a good person. And all the other kids around me, they weren't supported in that. They were like this kind of false idea of, let the kids make their own choice. Well, if you're 6 or 7, you can't make a choice. You just take what's given to you. It's like, what are you thinking? You can make a choice later on when you're educated, but first you've got to get educated. And of course, the easiest time to learn a language is when you're a kid. The easiest time to learn musical instruments when you're a kid. And the easiest time to learn ethics and a love of the Dharma is when you're a kid. So thank you, Mother, for me in particular, for, connecting me with the Lamas. I'm so incredibly fortunate for that compared to all the other kiddies there, So yeah, it's not to like tell the kids you should believe this or that, but to actually share your Dharma journey with them, just like you share everything else as a teachable moment. It matters to kids. Kids think about these things. They think about why they're alive and what's going to happen to the world and their friends. Like really small kids think about this seriously. And I think also when you're a kid, it's so much more black and white and unambiguous. And so when you worry about the world, it's like you are worrying 100% about the entire world. It's so full on and intense as a child. Grown-ups, when they worry about the world, they're worrying about what they're going to have for dinner, the price of the stocks, if they're going to be late tomorrow, and a little bit about worrying about the world. Like, it's really distracted and muddied by then. But when you're a kid, it's so serious. It's just simplified with smaller words, but the seriousness and the purity of it, it's really big. So I think we underestimate children. Probably if you're growing them up, you underestimate them because of just the day-to-day practicality of growing them up. Says me with no children, but I have lots of small friends, right? And they're actually my friends. Probably more honest relationships with the kids, right, than the grown-ups.
They always tell the truth and they never pull their punches.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, that's the brilliant thing. You take your cues, of course, from what they're asking and where they're at, but to not minimize it or diminish it. It's worth every day just going, what am I doing it for? And another really simple way to bring it from the everyday distraction to a Dharma purpose is to be like a kid and just ask, but why? And you give the answer and then you ask, but why? And so this actually comes from a self-help book, but I've found it incredibly useful. You've got to ask why minimum 3 times. So you go, why am I waking up today? Oh, because I've got to go to work. But why? Go, well, I've got to look after my family. But why? And hopefully by then you can start think to make the world a better place for everybody. And then you can ask, but why again? And then you can go, well, is just making the world a better place? or why do we want a better place world anyway? We're all going to die. So why? So that it can become conducive conditions for liberation and enlightenment. And so there you've gone from waking up to liberation and enlightenment, but you've shown the workings. It's become like an authentic kind of feeling. So just bring out your inner kitty, but why? Who else? Anthony, did you have something?
Well, hi. Well, I just decided to drop in the last couple of evenings, and I'm an old friend of Venerable Katie La and Venerable Rabina Corton. From way back in the Seishen Ling days, I used to go, I lived in California about 20 years for the most part, and in San Francisco quite a number of years. So I was hoping to catch Venerable Katie last night, but then Shayla announced she was not feeling too well. I hope she's okay for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is she supposed to come back tomorrow?
Right. And so
Tonight.
did you know Venerable Rabina when she was before she was a nun, or when she was a nun, or now?
I actually went out there to volunteer with LPP, and that's how I met Venerable Katie. And then Venerable Rabina, I did not know her before she was a nun, but I had been reading about her in some articles. I can't remember, it was quite a while ago, but somehow I picked up on her story, and the Chasing Buddha film had just come out, and it was fascinating, really. So I always wanted to leave New York, which is where I am now, back in New York, after about 20 years. I didn't think I'd return to the state, but that's a different story. And yeah, I actually took, I think, the second pilgrimage that Venerable Rabina did to Kopan, and then we flew into Kathmandu, and then crossed by bus into
She knows how to
Lumbini.
do a pilgrimage for sure.
Oh yeah, it was my first trip to India, and I was hooked. So I
It's
took
probably the very best, because you know, people often think, oh, pilgrimage, you kind of do it as a hippie or stay in hostels or whatever, but she's got this great thing. You go, you fly, you get really good hotels, you have really nice transport, you have really good food, and you just go for it. And Geshe Zopa has the same kind of approach too. You know, for us kind of Westerners that are used to a little bit of comfort, I think it's probably the best way for us to get the most out of the pilgrimage. Otherwise, we just suffer with the daily stuff.
Well, I had contemplated becoming a monk, and I didn't actually ever do it, but
there's still time.
I know. Well,
so
I took
Anthony, the time, there is a plan B for us all, everybody, that if you do get the diagnosis, you've got 3 months to live, like my mother did. You can take ordination, and so you can die in the vows. So if you don't have the courage, and this is what I want to do, because if you don't have the courage to become ordained now, at least aspire to become ordained, you know, when you've got nothing else to do, and then you're sick, so you've got very, very little opportunity to break any vows, and so then you get to die with really pure vows, and that will influence your next life. Like, you think I'm joking? No, this is the plan B for us cowards, right? This is what we can.
No, it's a great
to it.
It's a great idea. I didn't know you could do that, and I did get a Dharma name from. I think Ken Rinpoche was still the abbot at Kopan, and so I did get a Dharma name from him of Lundrup Tagye, and I always cherished that. I had many opportunities to take robes, and I just, like you could say, I don't know. But the 3 months.
You go, just even the way you talk about it, say not yet. Don't say haven't, say haven't yet. So
Haven't
keep it
yet.
always open. Bring it towards you. Like, it's really all of us. What do we want to be when we grow up? We want to be ordained. Minimum. That's what we're aiming for. We want to be able to be the vow holders to serve sentient beings in the Buddha Dharma. Like, that's the minimum that we want to do. So if we can't do it straight away, at least aim for something like that. I also got to say, so I knew Venerable Robina when I was really little. I think I was like, maybe eight or nine when I met Venerable Robina. I was shorter than her, so put it that way. That was pretty amazing. and I loved her. I just thought she was so fantastic. I loved being with her every single minute because she was so funny. It was the only time that I felt confident. I was a very, very anxious, shy child. The only time I just felt confident and happy. And I think it was because Venerable Robina took me seriously. But she was, you know, her incredible wit and humor and whatever. So she'd put me on the spot, but she did it with that big-hearted love, like Lama Yeshe, how she is with kids. And I would have conversations with her about the world. I'd have conversations with her about how I didn't get on with my mother, about being frightened at school, all of these things. And we'd talk for hours. And so I think back, she put in so much time to little old serious me. And I just absolutely adored her. Then, of course, up through teenagerhood, still adored her. Early 20s, now terrified of her. Because that's when she started going like, come on, Miffi, get it together. But because I had such a close feeling towards her, she'd come, I'd prepare myself. I just know I'm going to cry. And within like the first 10 minutes, I'm crying. But I didn't worry about it because the thing that happens, of course, with Venerable Robina is she's just like got this antenna where she just feels out here and feels out there. She'll say all these kind of preposterous things to just see what your response is. And when you respond, when you're bullshitting, when you're being like inauthentic, or you're trying to be something that you're not, she just zooms in. She goes, there it is. Found it. There's the self-cherishing. There's the self-grasping, and she will pin you down. And of course, that is a terrifying, shocking experience. But I knew that. So I'd cry and I'd go, great, I'm here. She's telling me, and I'd cry, and she put me on the spot, and I couldn't answer quick enough, and I'd still be crying. But the whole rest of the time I'm going, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'd have this, you know, big talk, and then she'd go away. She'd say, you know, love you, dear. You're fine. Everything's, you know, going to be okay. And I go, I know. And then for the next year, I'd be thinking about everything she said, and it would be exactly spot on where I have to look, where the next step is that I have to take. So, you know, it's like the experience of it, really distressing, the benefit, incredible. So I got this kind of cognitive dissonance, I think it's called, where you feel bad, but you feel good. Or actually what it is it appears bad because it's stressful, but actually the experience is really good because it goes really deep. And a lot of Dharma is like this, where it doesn't feel the way that we expect it to, which is what's called appearances or reification. It looks bad or it feels bad, therefore we think it is bad. And that's where we have that little doubt. We go, no, that's just the feeling part. Or that's just the appearance, or that's just because this is what it looks like from the outside. But I know, so we have our inferential awareness that goes, inferential cognition that goes, but I know something really important is happening here, and that's good. Doesn't feel good, but it is good. And Venerable Robina, really, she's the one to do that in an uncompromising way. And I think that's why she's so controversial, because you know, in our politically correct world, being uncompromising like that is radical. So good on her. Anyway, it's on the hour, everybody. Our time has zoomed along. Anthony, you just keep coming to Be Your Own Therapist, because it's a whole range of people that come. So my 4 weeks have finished. Then there'll be the next 4 weeks. There's Lama Yeshe's book, Be Your Own Therapist. Lakme's holding it up. Keep on, you know, dropping in and keeping our Dharma path authentic. Let's dedicate all of the merits today that we can keep having questions. We have the courage to question, and we keep asking, but why, until we come to a new thought. We keep asking why and try and steer it in a Dharma way. What's the Dharma point of view? This is, again, what Venerable Rabina says over and over again. I don't care what pop culture says. What does the Dharma say? Because that's what's going to help us. So let's dedicate that we have the courage and the curiosity to keep on questioning, and dedicate it to much more than just the happiness of this life. We'll really have to dedicate it not even just to, we hope things aren't going to get any worse or we want them to get a little bit better, but dedicate it for complete freedom and liberation from cyclic existence, and that we can develop all of our qualities and all of our connections with others so that we can become a Buddha and then perfectly help them. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a blast. Hope to see you again.
Thank you. And yes,
Thank you so
we will
much.
find you soon.